Welcome to this very special edition of the KJ Masterclass Live, the show which ensures that you profit from your time spent here with experts, either through their industry insights, information, or simply learning from them. And today we have Cam F. Awesome. He's a 12-time US national boxing champion, three-time Olympic trials champion, former captain of the US national boxing team. He is also an author of Becoming Awesome, How to Make Success Inevitable. He's also a keynote speaker. Welcome to the show, Cam.
Oh, thanks for having me on, Ajay.
You are welcome. Welcome to the show. Welcome to India in this online form, Cam. And I'm sure not just in India, but a lot of people will benefit from what we are going to talk about. We'll learn from about all these things about transforming self-doubt into unstoppable confidence, about so many things that, you have to teach about resilience, grit, and the power of positive internal dialogue. We learn all that from you. But before that, Cam, if you can tell us a bit about your journey, your background, so that people know who they are listening to.
Well, first of all, thanks for having me. And what's up, everybody? So a little bit about me. I'm originally from Long Island, New York. It's a far way away from India. But I grew up dealing with bullying. I wasn't a very tough kid. You hear a lot of people say, you hear guys say, when I was growing up, I'd fight anyone. I was the toughest guy on the block. Well, that wasn't me. I'm still to this day a very non-confrontational person, but because I was so non-confrontational, I was an easy target, it seemed like. So I dealt with bullying. And when I was about 15, I decided I wanted to make a change. I didn't want to be a victim. So I decided to join the boxing gym because I thought if I just did the workout and looked like a boxer, people would leave me alone. And when I got to the gym, I started to work out. I was 16 years old when I started going to the boxing gym, and I would do the workout, and I got in really good shape. And then the following year, my parents moved from New York to Florida, which is it's thousands of miles. So all of my friends, everyone I ever knew was gone. And I realized something special. I realized if I move to Florida and no one knows who I am, I can pretend to be anyone I want. And that kind of gave me a reset at life. Another thing that happened was my boxing gym was 6 miles from my high school, which meant I had to walk 6 miles every day after school. And Ajay, you remember iPods?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I didn't have one. It was they were new back then. They were hard to get. So I had to walk without music. And Ajay, since I was going to make up stories in my head because I was bored, I decided to make up stories where I was the superhero. So Ajay, in all these stories I would make up, I was knocking everyone out. I had all the money, all the cars. I was the best boxer ever. None of this was true at the time. But I realized there was a correlation between how highly I spoke of myself and how well I did in the gym that night. And the better I did at the gym at night, the more excited I was to walk to the gym the next day. And this created a feedback loop of confidence. And it was all based off my internal dialogue. It's like I told myself I was great, then I would do great things. And it's weird how that works. And then later on in life, I found out about your RAS, your reticular activating system. Ajay, are you familiar with this?
Yeah, pardon? Activating system.
Your reticular activating system.
Okay, I've heard. I don't know much about it, so I'll say no.
Okay, I'll explain for your listeners as well. So your brain takes in billions with a B, billions of bits of information every moment. Not every second, every moment. Moment. A lot of moments, a lot of information. Things you can see on your peripheral vision, your unconscious mind gets the information. But because your unconscious mind gets so much information, it filters it through your reticular activating system, your RAS. So you go from billions of bits of information and it filters it through to about 35 bits of information. So it shows you what it thinks is relevant to you. Your brain shows you what it thinks is relevant to you. So Ajay, let's say you go shopping for a yellow car, right? All weekend. And after that, you don't buy the yellow car, but after that, you start seeing yellow cars everywhere. Has something like this ever happened to you?
Yes, it happens. Buyer's guilt. Some people call it buyer's guilt. Some people call it. There's another word for
Ooh,
this. If
but
I understand.
bias guilt. I love that one as well. So the thing is, no one just showed up the day before and painted all the cars yellow. Ajay, all of those cars have always been there. Your brain sees all of the cars, but your brain will only show you the cars that it thinks is relevant to you. It's why whichever car you drive happens to be one of the most popular cars on the road. It's not. It's just the car your brain's looking for. So what your brain does is it gets all the information, it filters through and shows you what it thinks you're looking for. So Ajay, this is what I learned. If I say, my name is Ajay and I am not capable, your brain would sort through all the information, ignore all the reasons why you are capable, and show you the bits of information that confirms what you already believe. Ajay, what you seek is what you find. What I do is I help people change what they're seeking.
Absolutely, absolutely. Very well explained, Cam. Very well explained indeed. And now to understand, we'll come to the other part. But first, just to think about things, all is good. Imagine things in a positive manner. But then, how do we differentiate between just imagining and putting things into action? Otherwise, it will all be just flights of fancy and almost delusional. Some people just keep on talking about things, about being they are not, and then they almost move on to a different direction. So, how do we then put everything that you are imagining into action to actually fructify it all?
Well, here, Ajay, I used to always hear people say, if you have a goal, write it down. And Ajay, I don't need to write my goals down. It's in my head every single day. But then something crazy happened as soon as I started writing my goals down. It works. I don't know why it works. I can't explain why it works. So what I've decided to do is how do we get these things to stick? So I do a practice every morning that helps me transform myself. Every morning I wake up, I just got done. I write a list of 10 things I'm grateful for. I don't repeat anything on this list. Every morning I do it because if you wake up every morning looking for a yellow car, you start to see yellow cars. But what do we do when we wake up in the morning, Jay? A lot of us, we wake up, we get dressed, we make our coffee, and we turn on the television in the background. The television is just subconsciously telling you about rape, murder, death, genocide, war. And what you seek is what you find. So if you start your day looking at violence and hatred, what do you think you're going to start seeing in your life everywhere? So I have a friend. She loves murder mysteries and true crime, Ajay. She works from home. She listens to true crime podcasts all day, right? And then she watches murder mysteries at night. So to sum up her day, Ajay, she listens to people get murdered all day. She watches people get murdered in the evening, and she likely dreams of people being murdered at night. Ajay, you'll never guess, but my friend has anxiety. She created her own anxiety. She created her reality. So when I started to see people create their own reality, I wondered what type of reality I wanted to create for myself. And so I started boxing in 2006. Within 2 years, I became the #1 boxer in the country. That's what the confidence did for me. And I got to be captain of the USA national boxing team. I got to leave the country for the first time. And I was the #1 boxer in the United States. So I would go to other countries. I fight their boxers. I got to go to Europe, South America. It was a great experience. And in 2012, I won the Olympic trials. And I was headed to the Olympics. And then I was kicked off the Olympic team for not sending in my drug testing paperwork. And if you can imagine dedicating 6 years of your life to a goal every single day, fighting for your life, and then you make the Olympics and you forget a small detail. Now, granted, Ajay, this wasn't a real offense. It was right after Lance Armstrong went on Oprah, and the drug testing agency wanted to make an example of athletes. And I was one of the athletes they chose to make an example of. And when that happened to me, AJ, have you ever made a mistake in life? And
Every day. Every day.
okay, we have a lot in common. I make a lot of those. Have you ever made one and it was just all your fault and you thought, is there anyone I could place this blame on or share this responsibility with?
I think by default I am not like that. I will
Oh,
not. Maybe I will keep quiet, but I will not put that blame on anyone else.
oh, I don't say it out loud, but in my head, I'm like, well, who else can I blame? Whose else fault could this be? And that was it was a panic. I didn't know what to do. And Ajay, I was terribly embarrassed. I was filled with shame because everyone in my city, they knew who I was. I was the guy going to the Olympics, and snap of a finger, I wasn't going, and I was replaced. And I had to take a year off. I was suspended for a year from boxing. I got the minimum suspension because there was no evidence that I was actually doing anything wrong. Uh, but I was filled with shame, and I went from this person who started to really believe in myself. I thought I was amazing. I thought I could do anything, and just a few months later, I hated myself. I was beating myself up every day. And during the suspension, I started to drink a lot because I was angry, and I gained a lot of weight. And after my year suspension, it was time for me to get back to boxing. But I had gained so much weight, Ajay, that it was hard for me to lose it. And I decided I was going to I was going to get back to the gym. So I went to the gym for a few days, and then I would fall off. And I would start going to the gym again for a few days, and I would fall off. And this pattern kept happening. And then one day I realized I was doing the same pattern over and over. I work out for a few days and I don't. And then one day I was just really beating myself up. I'm like, you fat idiot, you loser. What is wrong with you, you piece of S? And Ajay, I realized at the moment there was a difference between me in 2012 and the me that walked to the gym in high school. One of us liked me. One of us believed in me. One of us supported me. And I realized I can never become who I want to be if I hate me. So, Ajay, the question I like to ask people is, how much time do you spend thinking about what you think about? Ajay, do you have any children?
No.
No? Okay. Just choose someone you love, okay?
Right.
And a younger person. And I like
Right.
to do this with audience. I say, think of your child. What if your child spoke to you the way you speak to yourself? And people aren't happy with that. And then I ask them, what would you do if your child spoke to themselves the way you speak to yourself? And when I started to ask myself questions like that, I realized I needed to believe in me. And that's when I had an idea of what discipline was. I thought love meant you give yourself everything you want. You want that extra coffee, you get that extra coffee. You want that extra piece of cake, you get that extra piece of cake. I thought that's what it meant to love yourself. And I since grown to realize that discipline is love. Because if you truly love yourself, you will want yourself to have all the things you believe you deserve. And to get those things, if you truly believe you deserve them, you'll have the discipline to get it. But if you don't think you're worthy of something, you're not going to go give the effort to go after and get it. And once this like clicked in my mind in 2012, after I got suspended, I realized I didn't like the unconfident person I was. I didn't like the negative person I became. And I wanted to start being my biggest fan again. So I wanted to tell myself I was amazing. I wanted to believe that I loved me. So I started to love me. And one of the first things I did to jumpstart this mental change is I went out and I legally changed my last name to Awesome as a reminder that I am.
Of course, you are, Cam. You are awesome, and the way you have put things, for the audience, that is very awesome. And in fact, I am very, a bit, you can say, experienced in listening, but I was also lost listening, and trying to grasp all the good points. You are not a very normal person who have achieved things, 12-time national boxing champion, 3-time Olympics trial, former captain of the USA national boxing team. So I want to understand, where did you get all this wisdom and motivation from? You talked about iPod, you talked about, so at different points in time, were you yourself so sensible or full of wisdom that it came to your mind, or was there somebody else guiding you? Help us understand so that, because telling yourself about iPod, all the good things. But then how did you turn towards boxing? How did you know, okay, this is the path you want to take? Can one just walk alone themselves, or do they need to look for other sort of motivation mentors?
Well, first I like to ask people, look, what do you want? And what are you willing to do to get it? And what I wanted was, I didn't grow up with a lot of money, and I wanted nice things. And I realized I would never get those nice things unless I worked really hard. And I wasn't going to get those nice things going to college because I don't like school like that. Not really my thing. But what I did, the reason for my success is I removed my safety net. Like if I mess up, if I fall short and I fall on my face, there's no one there to help me. I'm stuck. And I think if you don't have a safety net and you don't have a parachute, you're less likely to fall. Another thing, my wisdom has come from the fact I've never tried to avoid making mistakes. I've made so many mistakes. And the thing is, I learned from all of them, so they're not really mistakes. If I did it twice, it'd be a mistake. But I screwed up a lot of things once. And that has given me the confidence that I've screwed up things so much, and I've always figured things out. If I screw up something again, why can't I figure it out? I've done it before. Now, I of course think this way now because I've made so many mistakes and I've figured things out. One of my quotes in my speech, one of my most powerful quotes is, AJ, if you can fail without being discouraged, success becomes inevitable. I'll say that again. If you can fail without being discouraged, success becomes inevitable. When I tell people this quote, they think fail is a bad word, but failing is a good word. Failing is how you learn. It's how you get better. Failing is an opportunity to gain experience. I'll share a story, AJ. My first boxing match, like I didn't know anything about boxing, but I won my first boxing match. And AJ, I was on top of the world. I've never competed in anything before. I never made any teams. So I'm 16 years old. I was 1-0. I was undefeated as a human being. And then my second fight, I lost. And I was heartbroken. I looked at my coach. I said, what does this mean for my potential career? Can I not go pro? Can I not go to the Olympics? Do I lose ranking points? What does this mean? And he looked at me and he said, you didn't get the bigger trophy. And I was like, well, I looked at him confused. He says, there was 2 trophies. I said, yes. He says, there's a bigger trophy and a smaller trophy. I said, yes. He said, you didn't get the bigger one. And I still look confused. He says, okay, what you fought in was a smoker show. AJ, a smoker show is a one-day pop-up event where boxers go to fight each other to gain experience. They only do it for experience. They might get a trophy, but the idea is you gain skills before you go to an actual real tournament that matters. And the fact that my coach didn't shame me for losing, he didn't make me feel bad. He didn't say, you got to work harder next time. He was very indifferent about it. And what that showed me was failure is an opportunity to gain experience. Now, if you can fail without being discouraged, success becomes inevitable. Fail is not the bad word. Discouraged is the bad word. Because, Ajay, we don't quit when we fail. We quit when we get discouraged. And a lot of us get discouraged before we even start, so we don't. So what I learned was, if I can just continue to fail, learn from that failure, that mistake, I'll be better the next time. Just think about back in school. If you would have been left back a grade and you would have to do that grade again, wouldn't it be easier the second time?
Normal wisdom says yes.
So a lot of times when we fail, that's when we want to quit. But I learned when you fail, you now have experience on your side. You're literally in the best position to succeed now. And in my boxing career, I retired with more wins than any other boxer in the U.S. I've got about 400 wins. I've won more championships than anybody else in the sport. And it's because I learned how to fail without being discouraged. AJ, the reason why I have 400 wins is I have 39 losses. That's more losses than anyone you could probably name, right? At least in the boxing world.
10%.
Yeah. And but the thing is, I'm winning 90% of my fights.
Yes.
Now, a lot of people, if they were to get 10 losses, because that's a lot of losses for a boxer. Imagine after my 10th loss, I said, you know what? People with this many losses will never be successful. If I would have stopped then, I wouldn't have been as experienced as I was to get as many wins. I'll share another story, Ajay. In 2010, I was just a few years into boxing, and I had an opportunity to fight the number one boxer in the world. He was from Italy, Roberto Camarelli. He was a 3-time Olympian medalist. He's a big deal. And he came to the U.S. to fight me on my own home turf. Ajay, you think I'm going to let someone come to my country and beat me? Yeah,
I'm listening.
I lost that fight. Everyone has a plan till they get punched in the face. That's a Mike Tyson quote. So when we're boxing, this man, he came from Italy, and they fight different in Italy, and he was literally punching me in circles. I'm getting punched in circles, and I don't understand what's going on. And I lost the fight. It wasn't even close. And I got to the locker room, and I looked at the video, and I realized in the United States, we throw short hooks like this to hurt our opponent. In Europe, they loop the hooks over, and the Indians do it too. You loop your hook so your opponent doesn't see it coming, and he's literally like a bull in a matador. He's punching me in circles. And a light bulb went off in my head, Ajay. I said, even though I got embarrassed, I took that loss. I now know something that no other boxer in the U.S. knows. And I took that one loss, and I went on a 43-fight win streak in the U.S. That's a lesson I learned off of one loss. I have 38 more of those. Ajay, I'll tell you about something else. I was in the airport a couple years ago, and a guy saw me, and he says, "Oh my goodness, Cam." And Ajay, I am so bad with names. I love that when you're virtual, everyone has their name at the bottom left. But I'm terrible with names. So when he saw me, but I like to make people feel special, Ajay. So when he recognized me, I didn't want to say I didn't recognize him. So he's like, "Oh my goodness, Cam." And I'm like, "You, my guy." And we hug it out and we're talking. And he looks at me and says, "Cam, you don't remember me, do you?" I said, "I'm sorry, I don't." He said, "Cam, we fought twice." Which means I won. Ajay, because when you think about your wins, you don't really learn anything from it. Your wins are a reason to go out, celebrate, party, get drunk, or like whatever. But your losses, I can tell you all 39 of my losses. I can tell you what city I was in. I can tell you who I lost to. And I can tell you what I could have done in that fight to win. I can't even tell you who I fought when I won. Because it's my losses that make me better. It's my losses and my failures that allow me to have the wisdom that I have in life. So I would say the secret to my success is not being embarrassed by my failures.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So not being embarrassed by your failures, but how do we choose our failures? Can we do that? Or do we do we let failures come in and then we learn from it? Does it always lead to success that ways, Cam?
Oh, don't worry. You don't have to look for failure. Failure will happen. If you try anything enough and you go for big enough goals, you will fail. I often tell people I hope they fail at their goals the first time they try. Because if you could accomplish your goal on your first try, congratulations, you're really bad at setting goals. A goal you can accomplish on the first try is not called a goal. That's called a to-do list. You get a bunch of things on that to-do list, you have yourself a goal. So I believe in failure at its highest power and the lessons you learn from it. And you don't have to look for failure. You just have to attempt things. But what we do in life is we try to avoid failure. If we even go to college, we choose a major we think we'll be good at. Because we're like, all right, let's do what I'm already good at. Instead of finding something you're not good at, failing until you get better. And this is how failure turns to experience. So Ajay, let's say we're the same age and weight, right? I believe we are. And let's say you have 100 boxing matches and I have 3 boxing matches. And Ajay, we were to fight. Who do you think would win?
I'm thinking.
The one with 100 fights, right? And it's
yes. Likely.
And if you were a betting man, you'd bet on the person with 100 fights. But the thing is, you don't even know that guy's record. He can be 20 wins and 80 losses. But the fact that he has 100 fights of experience, I would choose him to win over the person with 3 fights. Because experience makes you better. And losses is the greatest experience you can achieve because it's the one you learn from. So my advice to your listeners is lose. Put yourself in a position to lose. Put yourself in a position to fall short. And then assess your performance and see how you can improve the next time. But there has to be a next time in order for you to improve.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So how do I win this mental game? You talk about positive internal dialogue, but this mental game, how should I look at success? First game, second game, third game, then you lose. And how should I look at failures? Because that is where the whole resilience and everything comes in, grit and determination. How did you look at in your own life?
So once I started walking to the gym and I had this internal confidence and I started believing in myself, I had such a great positive internal dialogue. Even when I lost, it was never, I lost because I'm a loser. No, I lost because it's a part of the process. Ajay, I am awesome. I am amazing. The outcome, if I play basketball, if I play football, if I play soccer, I don't care about the outcome. I'm amazing myself. The outcome is the outcome. Just because I lost, it doesn't mean I'm any less amazing. So I believe I need to hold my personal value within myself, not external validation. Because if you can get internal validation, if you can truly love yourself, appreciate yourself, and be disciplined enough to follow through, then failures mean a lot less. But that takes a positive attitude. Now, Ajay, I'll ask this question. I know I don't want to go too much over time, but think of a negative. We all have negative people in our lives, right? Take the second, and your listeners as well. Think of a negative person. Okay, Ajay, you have this person in your mind?
Yeah, they keep on coming, but I don't have many people around me. I just make sure I'm not around them.
Yeah, but think of a negative person. We all know one exists, right?
Yes, right.
Do you think that person believes that they're negative?
No.
So my question is, how do you know you're not that person?
Because you can feel it, because you are just not that person. You think differently. You have to look at things much more differently. It does not matter to me whether as you said correctly, losing does not mean you are a loser. It's just part of that process.
Yeah, but the thing is, we think that because we're positive people. You created a podcast to inspire people. Ajay, sorry, you're not normal. Okay, you're special. But the average person who is negative, they don't see themselves as negative. They see themselves as being a realistic person. So a lot of people who are negative do not believe they are negative. And they start to fail and they get frustrated and they wonder why. And I'm like, it's because your engine is running off of negative energy. If I were to lose a boxing match, I'm like, oh, I suck. I'll never be good. I'm the worst. Do you think I'm likely to do well in my next fight? No, because I told myself, my brain will look through all the information like, oh, Cam's amazing, ignore. Cam's awesome, ignore. And show that Cam's a loser. My brain would look for things to confirm what I'm already saying. So if I say I'm a loser, if I say I'm not a great person, my brain would look for things to confirm that. But the average negative person does not even think they are negative, so they can't fix their problem. And that's why every day I start my day with writing 10 things I'm grateful for. And Ajay, I never repeat anything on this list. I've been doing this every day since July 26th of 2021. I've been grateful for thousands of things. And it changes what I see in life, and it creates a more positive reality for me to exist in.
That's wonderful. Every morning to think of 10 different new things to be grateful for is itself, a wonderful thing for the brain. Means you will discover yourself so many things about yourself, about things around you, about the universe, about our existence. That's wonderful. One thing I want to understand from you, Ken, is about, you talk about positive thinking, resilience, everything. What about working for things on the ground? The power of hard work, the power of putting all into this, just like you talked about podcasts, even podcasting can be very hard work, putting things from early in the morning, but then you know about it. But people who look at certain, suppose if they look at your life, talk about the great things, you are a speaker, all these things, Olympic, and 12 times national champion, everything, but they forget about the hard work. And how would you like to tell them that you can keep on thinking all the positive things till but it all needs hard work on the ground. You need to go out and do it, and not just keep on thinking about it.
Perfect answer for that. So hard work. The problem with hard work, Ajay, is the term is subjective.
Okay.
So there's a person in Texas right now who they do an 8-hour work shift. They get 3 breaks. They have Wi-Fi and they're on TikTok the entire day. After they clock out, they say, "Oh my goodness, I'm so tired. I worked so hard." Ajay, there's also a lady in the Congo with her baby strapped to her back, mining for cobalt 18 hours a day. She also thinks she works hard. Which one is actually working hard? That's how subjective the term hard work is. So when people say, "Oh, I worked hard today," I'm like, "Did you work hard?" Because here's the thing: I live in the United States. It's very nice here compared to a lot of places in the world. But the worst thing that's ever happened to you is the worst thing that's ever happened to you. So this is the worst place a lot of people has ever been. People born in the United States, a lot of them don't leave. So this is the worst place they've ever been. So they think that they're struggling. They think life is difficult. They think poverty in the United States is $13,000 a year. Poverty around the world is, I believe, $400 a year. So what happens is if you get too comfortable with being comfortable, difficult things become even more difficult. So what I purposely do is I put difficult things in my life. Like I work out very hard every day just to make sure I never get too comfortable with life. And that has been one of the greatest deciders of success is how much discomfort can you deal with. The gym is 6 miles away. I'll walk 3 hours a day in the hot Florida sun. I'll walk 15 hours a week. If that's what I have to do to get to my goals, that's what I'll do. There's no other way. And I see it as an equation. 1 + 2 = 3. AJ, in this equation, 1 + 2 = 3. You are 1. You should always be your own number 1. No one's going to believe in you until you believe in yourself. 1 + 2 = 3. 3 is the goal, the objective, the outcome. If 1 + 2 = 3, if 1 is belief and 3 is the goal, what do you think number 2 is? It's the work. It's the hard work. You plus hard work equals goals. But the thing about this equation, Ajay, and people don't like when I say this, that's the equation for success. There's no room for your emotions. I know a lot of people care about feelings. Your feelings do not matter when it comes to a goal. Feelings are distractors. Ignore your feelings, suppress your feelings. That's probably the worst information ever. But Ajay, let's say, think about the last time you had a breakup, right? Like you and your girlfriend broke up. Even like when you're a teenager, you break up on Sunday. You hate her. She's the worst person ever. On Monday, you miss her. On Tuesday, you ignore her. On Wednesday, you miss her again. On Friday, you hate. You should not make any decisions based off your emotions because emotions are fleeting. But the consequences of actions taken off of emotions, they stay. So 1 + 2 = 3. If I believe in myself and I work hard, I'll reach my goal. But if I believe in myself, I work hard and I get discouraged, because again, discouraged is just a feeling. I do not care about your feelings. Your goals do not care about your feelings. So what I learned is if I believe in myself and I work really hard, I can reach my goals, but I can't let fleeting feelings like discomfort or frustration or being discouraged get into my equation, because that will stop you from working hard, or being discouraged will stop you from believing in yourself.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So much to learn from you. Let's learn a bit more from your book. Yes. Becoming Awesome, How to Make Success Inevitable. How did you get this whole idea about this? This is such a nice name. And yeah, please. Sure.
Yeah. Oh, see. Yeah.
Wonderful. Becoming Awesome. So When did you get this? And who is this book for? What have you written in this book?
So this book, what's weirdly, a lot of people told me I should write a book, and I wrote a book for me. And it's a weird one because in the dedication of the book, I don't know if you can see, but I want to dedicate this book to me.
Okay, yeah.
The reason why I dedicated this book to myself is a lot of people set goals, but their goals are for other people. Let's say they want to become a doctor. They only want to be a doctor because their mom wants them to be a doctor. They might want to be a video game player, right? So what happens is when you do something for someone else and you run into a roadblock or you run into frustration and you have to ask yourself why you're doing what you're doing. In those moments, you realize, oh, it's because I don't want to do it. But if you chose a thing you wanted to do yourself in those moments of hardship, you decide that you're gonna figure things out because you don't really give yourself another choice. Another thing I did was I wouldn't allow myself to be happy. Like if I said I was going to go to the gym and I skipped the gym, I wouldn't allow myself to be happy for the rest of the day. I would punish myself. Who in our life punishes us? Or who in our life holds us accountable? Because Ajay, once you become an adult, no one can tell you what to do. And no one tells you what to do. So no one tells you what to do. And you do what you've been doing before. And it's usually whichever habits you grew up having. And what I learned is children, they don't have ears, they have eyes. They don't listen to their parents, but they watch what the people around them do. They watch what their parents do and they emulate them. But a lot of us, some of us didn't grow up with the most disciplined or mature parents. And it's important that we start parenting ourselves. We start holding ourselves accountable because in life, no one cares about your problems other than you. Like, of course, people care about you, but they got their own problems. So you have to spend time doing the things you love, the things that make you happy, and realize that you're supposed to love yourself. And that's what discipline is. So 1 + 2 = 3, believing in yourself, being disciplined to do those things. And you could reach any goal you want as long as you have enough patience.
Who is this book for, Cam?
This book is for anyone who has a goal. And this is a book that allows people to find unconventional ways to reach their goals. I help people find the fuel to put in their vehicle, which is basically positive internal dialogue. No one thinks about you more than you think about yourself. Even the people with children, even when you think about your children, you're thinking about your children. It's still a selfish thought. You don't think about my sister's children. You think about your children because that matters to you. It's a selfish thing. So how much time do you spend thinking about you? And when you think about you, what do you think about you? And if you don't love the way you talk to yourself, if you schedule a Zoom meeting, but you get the time zone wrong and you're like, oh, you idiot, you stupid, you loser. Like, how do you speak to yourself? And this book teaches you how to speak to yourself in a way that's loving, accepting, and rational when it comes to goal setting.
Right. Nowadays, a lot of people, talk about goals, but they also talk about purpose. How do you see this? Is goal also the purpose, or purpose is something different? Nowadays, people realize that their goal was not their purpose.
Oh, I think a lot of people think goals and purpose, I believe, is an interchangeable term. And the way a square can be a rectangle, but a rectangle can't be a square. I think a goal could be a purpose, but a purpose doesn't necessarily have to be a goal because a goal is sometimes a destination or an outcome. A purpose is something you just exist within. So I would say at the time my purpose was boxing. Even if I lost, I was still doing the thing that I loved. And because I knew I was doing the thing I love, I wanted to do it again. But the next time I did it, I wanted to be even better. So I would go and I would train harder. But I chose something that I wanted to do. A lot of people do things to impress other people. A lot of people do things for the expectations of others. But how much things, and this is a question for your listeners, how many things are you doing in your life that are actually for you, that are completely selfish, that bring you happiness, that brings you joy? And if you aren't doing any of those things, why? Is it because you don't think you're worth it?
Absolutely. Great questions. Great answers to so many of them. One last thing I want to understand is then, what is your goal? What is your purpose now?
Oh, my purpose now. So if I'm being real, my first purpose was finding financial security, because once I found financial security, I was able to leave uh, surviving mode, like having this scarcity mindset, and and I believe when you're in survival mode, your brain's bandwidth is used for doing things like surviving and finding food and paying your next bill. But once you're able to work hard enough to and get lucky enough to alleviate bills and getting out of survival mode, then it leaves room for creativity. It leaves room for purpose, and it leaves room for helping others. And now that I'm in a situation where I'm in a position where I can help other people, that is now my life's purpose.
Wonderful. There's so much to learn from you, Cam, and I'm sure a lot of people would want to learn from your story, from your resilience, positive internal dialogue, from your book, and so many things that you are doing. What is the best way for them to connect with you?
You can find me on social media. I'm at Cam F Awesome on all platforms, and camfawesome.com. I'm a motivational speaker. Before motivational speaker, I was captain of the USA national team for about 10 years. I would travel all over the world. And like, if I wasn't lucky enough to go to India yet, and I will make it to India. I love Indian culture, and there's so much about Indian culture I don't understand. And I love the way you guys live, but I don't know the reasoning why you do what you do. And if I could immerse myself in your culture and your flavorful foods, I think that would be a great thing. I forgot what the question was. I'm sorry.
Just what is the best way for people to connect?
Oh, to find me. Oh, yeah. You can find me at camfawesome.com. I speak on cultural competence. I'm a motivational speaker, and I MC events. And if you have any questions, or I said anything that sparked an interest in your mind, reach out to me on social media. Let me know. It doesn't even have to be a comment. You can just slide in the DMs. They open.
Wonderful. Awesome. With this, it's a wrap on this very special edition of the KAJ Masterclass Live. Thank you so much indeed for joining us.
Thank you, Ajay.